300 capital ships charged their primary plasma arrays simultaneously to vaporize the archaeological anomaly in the deep basin. Admiral Teethven stood on the command bridge of the Breath flagship, his 4 silver arms crossed over his rigid lineage kitten. He gave the order for protocol silence, intending to erase the human discovery from history before the rest of the galaxy could look. The red plains of Varath 9 filled his main viewing screen, a dead margin world that was supposed to stay silent. Then the world beneath the fleet cracked open. Instead of detonating under the sudden plasma fire, the ancient metal vessel beneath the red dust rose. The 40-kilometer hull did not take damage. It absorbed the heat of the strike like a new input script. The ship blinked out of existence entirely, leaving the orbital arrays firing into empty air. A millisecond later, the mass of ancient engineering materialized directly into the center of the enemy fleet formation. It sat inches from the flagship. Every single targeting computer across the 300 alien vessels dropped to absolute blackness, and their energy grids died. A 7,000-year-old voice broke the tactical silence across all channels without firing a single shot. The fleet thought they were hunting a ghost. They were wrong. Stay on the line. The record shows exactly what woke up. 12 hours earlier, the red dust of the Varick Basin was cold. Cale Doran stood 40 meters beneath the frozen surface, his excavation boots locking onto the slick metal ground. He cracked his right knuckles, listening to the heavy scrape of dry wind against his suit. According to 3 separate academic boards, he was a disgraced revisionist who should have lost his permit. According to the deep wall hum vibrating behind his teeth, the boards were simply terrified of what lay in the dark. The scanner signals are dead across every frequency channel, Demi Voss said, tapping her flat console. She was the team geologist, and her fingers moved over the data keys with sharp, nervous strikes. The material is eating the waves. It shouldn't be here. It's here because we forgot how to look, Cale said. He stepped toward the dark wall. He did not look at the dials. He trusted the weight of the metal under his hands. He entered a 4-digit resonance frequency into the manual breach kit. The light-absorbing metal plates slid open with a slow, heavy hiss that smelled of old, recycled oxygen. The rule of galactic archaeology was absolute. Humanity was the youngest, most primitive iteration in the interstellar registry, a race of clumsy newcomers holding onto margin permits. The Breath Dominion had held faster-than-light travel for millennia, while humans still struggled with baseline warp drives. Cale walked through the open seal anyway, leaving his crew to follow him into the corridor. Priya and Save stepped inside, their lights cutting through the dark air of the inner chamber. The room smelled like old decisions. Above the central command seat, a line of light-absorbing angular text pulsed with a low subvocal frequency. The ancient proto-human script was deeply etched into the meta-alloy bulkheads, its meaning clear to anyone who carried the right blood. It read, "For when they come back, you will know what to do." "This isn't an outpost," Priya whispered, her structural analyst tools tracking the massive curve of the floorboards. "The baseline warmth is cycling from a core kilometers below us." "It's a ship." "Get the uplink ready," Cale told Save. "The alien border fleets will catch the energy leak within minutes." The deck plates began to vibrate at a frequency human ears could not hear, but the tracking tools caught the spike. Save scrambled to open an orbital link, his young face pale under his visor. Before he could clear the channel, the overhead alerts flashed a deep crimson. The Breath Dominion border fleet had just entered the upper atmosphere, deploying an aggressive, faster-than-light sealing net that locked the entire sector down. "They're dropping phase assassins into the lower corridors," Demi shouted, her hands locking onto her scanner. 6 targets moving fast. Cale did not run for a weapon. He walked straight to the angular command throne at the center of the bridge and sat down. The biometric console beneath his palms flared to life, sending a sharp, warm needle prick up his spine. The ship read his DNA pattern, throwing a massive current through the floorboards that ignited every dormant system simultaneously. A high-frequency broadcast tore through the atmosphere, bypassing the alien net entirely. The vessel sent an uninterceptable galaxy-wide signal across 60 star systems, declaring its awakening to every open receiver. At the same moment, the locked historical archive opened directly into Kale's consciousness. The data did not come in numbers, it came in active memory. Kale saw the ancient architects, the first human civilization, seeding the primitive ancestors of the Breath and the Solhari. He watched them save the alien races from 3 separate extinction moments before stepping back into primitive ignorance to survive the weight of a galactic war. They had chosen to become small so their children could grow on their own. The air behind the console shimmered, and 6 Solhari phase assassins flashed into the room with weapons drawn. Their silver skin caught the new blue light of the consoles. Kale did not flinch or reach for a gun. He tapped the primary command seal on his armrest. The ship shifted local gravity to 4 times standard in a millisecond. The sudden, sickening weight slammed the alien operatives to their knees, locking their joints to the floorboards. The lead assassin struggled against the pressure, his 4 arms pinned to the metal. "You are too late," the assassin hissed, his ceremonial lineage kitten cracking under the gravity. "The High Council already made the trade. Your modern world is being offered as a tribute to the Rim threat to buy our empire's time." "The garden remembers the gardener," Kale said, his voice dropping into the intercom lines. "Even if you forgot our names." He linked the vessel's uncalculable power core to every civilian network and military relay in known space. With one strike of his hand, he dumped 7,000 years of unredacted historical records straight into the galaxy's public consciousness. The archive wasn't a file. It was an active record of a race that refused to let its soil turn to ash. Across 30 systems, millions of alien citizens watched the true history of their origins flash onto their screens. The Solhari High Council relays flickered as the data overrode their censorship grids. In orbit above Verath 9, Admiral Teethven watched his display screens turn white with human text. He gave the order to fire the primary plasma arrays, desperate to burn the evidence out of the crust. The 300 capital ships discharged their weapons, turning the night sky into a wall of white heat. The energy strike never touched the dirt. The undying threshold metabolized the full force of the attack like an update script, using the kinetic heat to charge its displacement drives. No warning, no shields, no damage. The 40-kilometer ship blinked across space instantly, bypassing every law of propulsion. It reappeared in the exact center of the Breath Fleet formation, its massive hull sitting inches from Teethven's flagship. The sudden proximity of the apex predator stripped the power from every alien vessel within 3 sectors. The primary targeting systems went dark, and the capital ships drifted like dead wood in the black. The silence across the tactical channels was thick, heavy, and paralyzed by fear. A human voice broke the quiet, speaking through the dead calm lines of every ship in the fleet. It was Kale, his gaze settled on the central viewing screens. "We aren't the newcomers," Kale said, his voice echoing in the flagship's dark bridge. "We're what happened before." In the capital array of the Breath Dominion, Emperor VTH Karen accepted a direct private uplink. His silver-boned face mask showed the sudden strain of historical grief as the unredacted archives finished downloading into his personal ledger. He looked at the massive human hull parked in the center of his Pride fleet. "We did not ask to be created," the Emperor whispered into the dark room. "We didn't create you to serve," Kale answered from the ancient throne. "We created you to survive, and the threat at the Rim is already moving." The Solhari High Council collapsed within 3 hours as their own civilian populations turned against the leadership for the planned human betrayal. 3 mid-tier alien republics broke away from the alliance immediately, declaring their alignment with the human assembly. the old empire sat in silent political paralysis, their weapons useless against the ship that had returned from the dark. 2 months later, Cale Doran stood before the first multi-species galactic congress. He did not wear uniform or medals, and his right hand was steady as he stepped to the podium. He did not demand tribute, and he did not ask the empires to bow. He laid the new coordinates for the Outer Rim Perimeter Defense Grid onto the central map table. The First Galactic Congress ratified the Unified Defense Pact without a single dissenting vote. For the first time in 7,000 years, the alien empires stood beside humanity as equals, their joint fleets turning toward the cold dark of the Outer Rim. Back in the deep basin of Varath 9, the old excavation team prepared to leave the world behind. The wind outside still scraped against the dead rocks, but inside the hull, the air was warm and clean. The proto-human text above the central command seat had shifted its glowing color, the light settling into the metal plates with a soft, permanent weight. Cale stepped away from the console, leaving the command bridge empty for the first time in weeks. The glowing script over the chair pulsed once in the quiet room, its new letters reflecting in the dark glass. It read, "They knew you'd come back. That was enough." He walked out through the heavy airlock door, his boots making a light, rhythmic click against the meta-alloy floor. The outer door slid shut behind him, sealing the warmth inside. Outside, the red horizon was vast and silent under the cold stars. Ahead, the stars were very bright. Behind them, they always would be.